call now. Hello, everyone. This is Holly, and hopefully we'll have folks joining us soon. I apologize for being a little bit late starting today.
Hello,
Gerard.
Hello, Holly.
Busy times here. Gets hot in this room, but I can't put the fan on during class because it disturbs the sound too much. Are you trying to get the info to Ivan to join?
I already did.
You did already?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. We got all these different communication loops going. So Vasant had some interesting topics, something new and different to talk about. With water, it's certainly becoming a huge topic. Did you see his post, first of all?
No, sorry.
Okay, so if you go to the site, to the class link and see his reply to the class, got some interesting photos there. Hello, Vasant, can you hear us?
Hello, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you for your post and suggestion.
Yeah. It was an interesting article to me too, because the crisis is not that much effective in my area, but in North India, it is getting much harder to preserve water, because nowadays it's getting hotter and hotter day by day. So they are experiencing such drought.
Yeah. And not just India, of course, many countries. Gerard, you guys had a drought there earlier this year or last year, right?
Yes, we did.
It's not a pleasant experience as I've experienced it, but I've not experienced anything close to the level of what other countries are going through now. And I remember as a child, my parents panicked because their business was landscaping and they needed water for their plants, for their livelihood. And we had a huge reservoir tank when I was young. It's gone now, but and also creeks and ponds, and all three of our ponds dried down to two of them completely and one of them to a puddle. And that was the scariest I've ever experienced personally, and too young to remember it real clearly. Just remember my parents' panic more than anything. But you can't put a lock on a lake, right? But people do divert water. So lots of challenges around the world with this, but I can't imagine if you're thirsty and parched, needing water, and you can't get in. I'd break that lock. That the lock in your photo does not look strong enough to be a real barrier, but also climbing down into a well as the water level gets lower and lower. It's something I've never done. So do you have wells like that, any of you, in your areas?
No, really.
I have.
You do? Yeah, wow. And do a lot of people still collect water that way? Your mic is off, Vasant. Did we lose him?
No, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's mostly for irrigation purpose. It used to be a drinking water source, but nowadays it doesn't taste good, so we don't use it for drinking purpose. We just use it for the irrigation purpose.
Okay. I thought you had said education, but you're saying irrigation. Important pronunciation difference. So not education of what used to be, but irrigation. So it reminds me of the cisterns. I'm trying to put vocab out here. The cisterns that we used to have below a couple of houses we used to own in New York had big cisterns that would collect water.
One question for you, Holly. Is the water in America treated with chlorine and other products?
In cities, yes. We're on well water, so we don't have to worry about that. But the city water, yes. Big controversy in both directions, both people who think we need it and people who don't want it. So the levels are within supposed protective regulations, guidelines. So chlorine and fluoride levels are debated strongly. Are they used there?
Yes, here is compulsory. So then water needs some treatment to avoid bacteria and all this stuff.
Bacteria, yeah.
Bacteria.
Yeah. The taste of water in other places when city water, I'm even thinking about it sometimes coming through our house pipes. I sometimes wonder what we're drinking, but I try not to worry too much.
Does your water have lime? Lime?
We don't add lime to our bill. Every 10 years or so, we have our well water tested, and it lists all of the readings that they determine in the water. And I don't recall. Excuse me. Should have muted my mic. Sorry.
Are you familiar with this stereotype that silver is useful for water to be more clear or something? People here, if you have some jars or something for drinking water, in many times people put some silver coins or silver rings inside because they believe that silver has some antibacterial, I don't know, features or something. Yeah, there is a lot of science behind that, but a little bit, it cannot save you, but it's a little bit better, but cannot save you. But people still do that. So if you have some jar or something, it's very usual to see a ring inside or coin or something.
Oh, how clean is that coin or that ring? So I worry about different type of bacteria. Money is one of the worst for carrying germs. Interesting. Solve one problem with another. Wow, I have not seen or heard that. Reminds me here, some people who visit are surprised by how many people throw coins, pennies, and other coins into public ponds or wells for good luck. Is that something that's done in your areas or your fountains?
Sorry for for staying in the same topic, but do you know this silverware? What does it mean? Silverware.
You're asking me?
Yeah, or someone else?
Silverware is usually not silver.
Yeah, but why it's silver? Why is the word it's silverware? Because it's known from for long times that silver has some antibacterial how to call it, properties, features, and that's why it's silverware. So we use silver for spoons, for forks, for knives, for that reason.
How do you call in English this place that you clean water, like black water? So it needs to be a little bit clean.
Excuse me a minute.
On the water from the sewage, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to clear my throat. Just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe sewage or something.
Sewage?
I don't know exactly. I just remember that word.
Sewage is the, you know, the sewage is the place under the ground, you know, that runs the dirty water. But there are stations that you know, purify water. So this water can be used at least for irrigation purposes.
Purify it for irrigation?
Yes, you know, the dirty water, it can be purified. So you don't throw the dirty water directly to the river or to the sea, you know?
Ah, so you mean from people producing the...
No, the council, or you know, of the city has those. It's like a station, a building.
Yes, where they can divert water to different purposes
And clean the water. They treat the water.
Yeah, purification plants or
Okay,
purification
purification plants.
Yeah, because I live in industrial region, we have a lot of them. So after any industry, we have these plants that works with waste, with water, with all these things.
Yes, and in third world countries, they throw this dirty water directly to the rivers or to the sea, and it's a mess.
Right, and it still happens in the U.S. My parents' summer camp up in Maine, folks that are really out in the rural areas in a rural state, not everyone is on a system still. Challenge. This reminds me of a challenge that many people have, both people who live here and grew up here and should know better, and those that move to the US, is easier now because we have Google, but in the days of phone books, pages, right? I think that's an international, the listing services.
We have them.
It used to be you go to the yellow pages to try and find water facility purification, but knowing what to look up, finding things. One of the hardest things to find in yellow pages when I taught at the Adult Learning Center was the Adult Learning Center. How to find help for learning English was one of the hardest things to find in the yellow pages, not where you'd think to look. So there are all kinds of words. It might be municipal, it might be purification, it might be plant, it might be water, it might be, yeah, so it's challenging to know what to find. Google makes life much easier in this regard. So do you have places, well, I don't know, are any of you on well water? I see one nod. Do you have places that you can go for a minimal fee or for no fee to get your water tested? Or is that testing provided?
Yes, laboratories.
Yeah. We have such place. It's just a department of government, and you can bring there not only water, you can bring there food, I don't know, anything, and they will test it and check it, and you will get an analysis what is inside.
So you have to pay for it here, and it's not the government.
It's
not provided. Yeah,
we
and
have
many people never check, other than when they buy their property. You have to buy for a sale, but also a challenge here, and in different states and regions.
We have to pay too, and but it's cheap. And it's a problem not in paying. Problem that you have to have time for that, to go there, to make all the things. But when we hunted, when I was young, we hunted regularly. So when we have that animal, it's better to check them if it's safe or not to eat. So we took a small part and bring it to that department.
Okay.
And now it's very common too when you buying something not from the shop but from the farmer in the village. You know, it's very common to check it in that service. Yeah. So you will be safe at least.
Yeah. Wow.
And we have a big agricultural like markets or something. I don't know. It's just a place where farmers trade their goods, and usually at this market we have a small room like for these tests, so you can do just in place.
Ah, wow. Checkpoint right there at point of service. Interesting. I've not seen that. It would not surprise me if that were done here, but I've not seen it. Back to water, where this immediate area has had some ridiculous rainfall this week and a lot of flooding, and the sewage treatment plant was flooded, and so a whole huge area, business parks and no, I guess not the hospital just yet, but a whole corridor of homes and businesses have to boil their water first. They've been declared that it's not safe to use, and we've had roads washed out and bridges washed out, and potential for a lot of damage from water, and the mosquitoes, oh my goodness, are they happy, right? So one of the dangers that comes from too much water is the mosquito population that breeds so quickly in any little puddle. So, and I know India also suffers with floods. So water is a powerful both ways, right? Not too much and too little. Does the city in areas where the drought is, are there other cities that are transporting water to those areas? Like after a huge disaster, it happens easily through organizations worldwide, but on a small scale, are there people that provide? Like here, one of the grocery stores has advised that anyone who lives or works in that area can come in for water. But is that done in other places? Is there a system in place to help when water is really low or unusable?
Yes, one of my cousins wants to work in that place I mentioned. So once he reached that state, he observed that a lot of tankers that holds water comes every once in 15 days in there. And
Sound is weak. I'm sorry.
okay, I think it's because of my Wi-Fi network. Okay, now is that better?
Much better, much better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, one of my cousins had a chance to work there, and he observed that a lot of tankers that hold water went there, and they provide gallons of water to those people, and those people have a separate structure in their homes. It's like what to call it? It's like
maybe the cistern that I was talking about that holds water, a tank of some
yes,
sort.
yes, it's like a oil tanker that holds water.
Okay.
They provide water to the people, and they have a separate room. What do you call a separate cavity or something to preserve water there. They keep that water for at least 15 days. The rest of the 15 days. So yeah, that's how they use it for all the drink. How do you call it? The bathing and
Bathing.
cooking. Yeah, the bathing. That kind of. But for drinking water, they have to buy some clean waters.
Yeah, challenges, and you think back to the aqueducts that were built centuries ago. Fascinating to solve water challenges.
Is it really?
And some.
Sorry.
Yeah, some experts are imposing to interconnect the rivers for years. The discussion has been on more than 2 decades, but still we cannot implement that. It's a huge process. It cannot be done within a decade. It would take more than 3 decades or something.
So they
To
want to
connect.
dig a deep trench or canal to connect them?
Yes, interconnection, because one part is having drought and another part is having flood. So they are planning to balance the two poles. Yeah.
Yeah, not an easy project. That reminds me of China and some of the efforts they've done. Major things to change people's lives and buried whole cities and towns.
But we built one big aqueduct. How to say it? Aqueduct,
Aqueduct. Mm-hmm.
like a duck, like aqueduct.
Oh, there's a T on the end. Aqueduct. First syllable.
Aqueduct. Aqueduct. Yeah, we had to build one huge aqueduct last year or year before. I can't remember exactly because of this Crimea situation. You know, Crimea does not have own water. And it got all the water from Ukraine, but Ukraine like cut it off because of politics, and 1 million people were without water. So we have to decide this, and we built aqueduct from how to say it, from nearest country, from nearest region to Crimea.
Okay, and Laura just joined us. Hello, Laura.
Hello, Holly. Hi, how are you?
Nice to hear your voice.
Thank you.
Welcome. We're talking about water shortage, droughts, flooding, distributing, redirecting, and wondering if you have any experience with a drought or a flood or something being done for people to help get water for daily life. So that's what we've been talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I already told you that I live in California, and I believe you're aware that in California a few years ago, I believe also the last year we had a problem with the water. Yeah, even the price, for the bills, paying the bills were really, really expensive. Now it's getting better.
At its share of challenges. So your utility bills, your water bills went up considerably?
Oh yeah, it was actually because in the place that I'm living right now, it is really nice, and we have a lot of trees and plants, but the hours to water the plants were also really strict. They send us letters telling us you only can water the plants maybe 2 days a week, I think so.
Remember that they had first they say no car washing and no hosing your driveways, and then they put in more and more restrictions, and then I think they rolled it so it was different areas on different days.
Yes, correct.
Water. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. And they also, I remember we talked about this in a loop class. I'm remembering, I don't know if any of you guys were there, but talked about how there was all this marketing to promote fake grass and fake turf, and people were redoing their lawns with fake grass to save on having to water real grass. Yeah. It all begins with awareness, right? And the awareness comes harshly when there is a disaster of some sort. Yeah. So do you remember then if people were putting locks? This all started because Vasant shared a post about people locking their water tanks and their wells.
Oh, wow. No, not really. But you're right, because what I do in my job, we sell all kind of products for concrete, decorative concrete, and a lot of people started changing. Instead of having grass and gardens, they started changing, having concrete, decorative concrete, and yeah, people still doing it right now. Concrete, yeah, with designs and colors in it, instead of having the plants.
Oh, the coffee plants. So they plant plant coffee in their yards. Am I understanding you right?
Let me write down concrete.
Concrete.
Yes.
Not coffee. Okay, I was hearing coffee
Thank
and it
you.
was
Thank
not
you, Ivan.
Okay. Okay. Concrete. Yes. Concrete. First syllable stress. Concrete.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Pouring concrete. Of course, it needs water to make the concrete.
Oh, yeah, but just once in a year, yeah, and forget about the expensive bills.
Wow. So a lot of people replaced their lawn with concrete, bigger patios.
Yeah. It's beautiful, but it's not compatible with having real plants, right?
Right. Yeah. But the reality that they're dealing with, I know when I see maps that show all of the population fed by so far away water sources, you just doesn't take a lot of brain power to realize there's going to be a challenge coming up there. So,
Yeah.
I apologize for the views of my husband wandering. It's really hot here today, and we have I don't know if other places do this. Our electrical company offers a plan where you can agree to be on a reduced strength of service so many hours a day to try and keep more people air conditioned, and we're on that, and it's really hot today, and I can't use the fan when I'm in class because it's too noisy. So I have a fan on out there, and the door open today for class.
But fans on the ceiling used to be silent,
Well, they're quiet, but they're not silent, and you can see it when I have it on. It just affects class, so I don't use it when I'm in class. It's not real noisy, but the air it circulates is noisy. So that the changes that are made that come. So the increase in suburbia and in urban environments is changing how people think about water and plants, and a lot of retraining going on here that clashes, as always, with politics and bureaucracy. So the construction companies, when they come through, I will never understand the logic of this because I care about aesthetics. But the land here, a lot of it is gorgeous. And these contractors buy huge acres of land. And the first thing they do is clear it, take away all the beauty. And then they build their houses. It's easier to get their equipment through with all that crap gone. And then they charge thousands of dollars to put in the wrong trees instead of using the beautiful natural trees that were there. But that's the way so many people think, and trying to change that is difficult. It's a mindset of cultural, this is the way it's always been thing. And I don't know, and Africa, of course, has been in the news this year with fear that the whole city, where was that? I forget which city.
South Africa?
Yeah. They were worried that they were going to have no water, but they put in some strong measures.
I think Cape Town, I think.
Cape Town, yeah. I remember they were even talking with Alaska about the feasibility, because Alaska has access to lots of water, and they were talking about the feasibility of shipping it from Alaska to Cape Town.
Wow.
Holly, do you remember this article we talked about? Flynn, I think, we had a problem with water supply.
Flint, Michigan, yeah.
How is the situation right now? Is it solved?
No.
Flynn, Michigan.
It's in process, but not fully resolved, and still fighting the criminal charges against people who let that happen. But what's scarier is since then, especially in this year, we'll get back to Yvonne's favorite topics, but especially in this year of Me Too and people toppling, toppling people from power, a lot of mayors and a lot of towns and a lot of cities are terrified because Flint, Michigan is not the only place in this country where tricks have been played and secrets have been hidden, and there is bad water in plenty of other places as well. And, not an easy fix, not a cheap fix, and absolutely an inconvenient fix for everyone.
Do you notice that now people that did bad things in the past, those things come on the surface, like,
Right? Yeah.
and they are punished. In Spain happens a lot recently.
Is it happening more also, or
Yes,
people
following
through on
corrupted politicians that they thought that they escaped from justice because it was a long time ago. They were caught.
So are people fleeing to other countries? We watched a movie the other day, so bad at names, about Julian Assange, and that was interesting. The background of how that may have developed, it was somewhat fictional. So, but yeah, the people getting caught or getting public in ways they don't want to be, having impacts that I'm not really sure who the winners are. There's a lot happening culturally to all of us from it. Sometimes I just want to go back to a cabin in the woods and ignore it all until somebody destroys us. Here, I don't know if this has made international or made it to California news or not, but in Baltimore or DC, I forget which, this guy's trying to build a nuclear safety place below his home. And
wow.
A young man died in a fire there. Has that made news anywhere else?
No, I didn't hear of it.
So there's this guy who apparently is a horrible hoarder. This is something else that seems to be growing. Some reaction to life is to hoard everything. But this young man, 37, I think he is, young.
Yeah.
Terrified of North Korea, of war here, of war there, of what's happening. And so he's trying to build a bunker under his home and has a warren. I don't know if it's my husband's name, but also a noun. A warren, rabbit warren, like rabbits build their nests with lots of tunnels that connect. He's trying to build a warren of bunkers so that he has his kitchen, he has his facilities all figured out. And he hired this guy to do the tunneling. And the fire started upstairs, and the young man that he hired was killed in the warren below, digging tunnels because the upstairs was a hoarder and it was just no way to escape. Yeah. But how many people are doing that we don't know about? The stories about this are wild because apparently this guy who wanted the bunker built had known this guy he hired for years and met him always in another state in a coffee shop, and he would make him put blindfold on and drive him curved back roads different way each time to his house to work in the tunnels, and he wouldn't take the blindfolds off until he was down below the house. So this guy never knew where he was. His family certainly didn't know where he was. And awful. But how many people are doing things like that we don't know about? So I don't know what any of you are doing in your offline time. I'm usually in the garden, not trying to take a tunnel.
Reality in America overcomes fiction.
Yeah,
You know what, Holly? Actually, we have a neighbor, and yeah, he was telling me the other day that he's watching all these videos on YouTube, and he's really worried because he says these videos are about, he says, the government is trying to the government is gonna kill all poor people. That's what he believes. He's a little crazy. Yeah, and he was telling me, "Oh, you better be worried. Yeah, you better start making, a place that you can hide because they're gonna come and they're gonna just throw bombs over us,
Oh
all
my
poor
goodness. So
people."
he's
And
not just talking slow term policy
no,
till
no, my God, he's a little crazy, but and then I was like, "Where do you saw that, or where do you hear about that?" And he was like, "Yes, go to YouTube and watch these videos." And I was like, "Oh my God."
yeah. Ah, wow. Yeah. And it's not just YouTube, of course, but so much online and so many news sources you might choose to follow. You hear totally different news reports and of course we have our dear president to thank for the fake news.
Oh my God, yeah.
That the whole world has become enamored of because fake news is quite evident all around. But I don't want to get into how we might stop fake news and protect ourselves because that's a debate we don't need right now. but it's like many people lose their grip on their common sense and they get caught up in the swoop of
Yeah.
whoever is influencing them. I'm guilty of it as well at times, but hopefully grabbing on to some common sense enough now and then to at least try to think about full circle explanations. I would like, yeah. So did any of you, I guess I will ask since I have a few of you here, did any of you read the new, the thing that Ning put out when they made you click accept, or did you just click accept? Did any of you read it?
Oh my God. No.
No, not even you, Yvonne. I have to read it because I don't,
Yeah.
you know.
I read it for my job with two lawyers whose specialization is that kind of
Right,
crap.
right.
and
Yeah.
and it's a, I don't know. I don't have good words for that.
Right. We recognize that. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I wasn't paying attention to it because I didn't think I'd have to. And then the way Ning came back at me, I'm like, oh, smart move, Ning. So I haven't yet, but I have to try to make myself understand it more now and figure out if it changes anything that I've been doing and we do, or what I can try to make clearer for those of you. So it is a reality. Like one thing that I don't like is that Ning insists that I get everyone's birth date when they register. And I see it and I don't care. And I wouldn't ask that if I didn't have to. But I wouldn't care if I didn't have access to it, but I do. So there is information that you just trust, and I just clicked accept. In the 38 or 58 or whatever it was emails I got from everybody. Just it did help me try once again to unsubscribe from a few people that I hadn't heard from in years that sent me that notice because they had to. But all the costs and lawyers, some of the lawyers are happy, right? But could such a thing happen with water? Like there are towns and homeowners that sue over the rights to water. And fear, right? Fear gets in the way. There are days when I try not to listen to much news because I've just had enough. And then I think of Black Mata and others that are just living through such hell, and I'm like, how lucky I am.
Yeah, Holly, I even stopped watching news because, yeah, I was every day I was feeling in fear, and I was all day, just thinking about this president and what is going to happen with us, aliens, the way he called us.
Aliens,
Yeah, so I thought,
creatures.
well, just I better stop watching those because I don't want to feel like that. I already have a lot of things to be worried about, so I don't need anymore.
Yeah, right. Not usually a shortage of things to worry about in this world,
Yeah.
just to get through the day. Yeah, yeah.
Did you see the guy from in France that saved children dangling
Yes,
from a
yes.
balcony?
That
Oh
did
my
make
God.
a lot of news here for me. Yeah, a lot of
Wow.
things I follow. Spider-Man, they call him.
Spider-Man
Yeah,
from
and
Mali.
now he gets to sit and meet the president and maybe get his situation resolved.
And I have a very short question about that. If it will be just a normal French white guy, will it be the same news?
I don't know. I think it's not something usual seeing that.
Yeah, I think it might have been news, not with as strong a twist because of all that's going on with immigration right now, without that element. But rescues like that, a lot of heroes like that are invited to the White House to shake President Trump's hand and get some gift or something. So it's that kind of thing, or invited on Oprah or Ellen DeGeneres' show or something. So that kind of thing does happen with heroics like that. It was pretty astounding when I saw the photos. It was pretty incredible rescue. But helpful to maybe. Oh, okay. All right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Laura.
Bye-bye. Bye,
Bye bye.
everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so I think it's helpful to show humanity, right? I mean, people that do listen to tunnel vision or silos, I guess, is the new people who live in silos. This is the new buzzword I'm hearing a lot. Who just have their little news sources, and they don't try to look at other sides of things. You get tunnel vision, and scary things can happen. So it's good when something like this reaches the consciousness and might let people think, oh, human, not alien. Yeah. The stories about children being separated from their parents. I did not know so much of that has been going on for decades here. And I'm trying to understand it more, but then look at Italy. Oh my goodness, all that's happening in Italy now too. Sheesh. But Greece and Italy with the influx of immigrants, if you get population close to doubles when you have no advanced preparation for it, that's a lot to deal with.
I know that the rest of you not a fans of this TV show, but I think that Gerard should know this one. Better Call Saul, right, Gerard?
Yeah.
Without that, sorry, it's a mistake. And there was an episode like that, to when a guy needs some attention, he how to say save it one failing from the big tower. Yeah, it reminded me. It's like very similar situation.
Ah.
And people trying to help are totally overwhelmed. I mean, there are no easy answers. If you run out of water, what do you do? There are not easy answers. And boy, is the fear building, right? In so many ways around the world. Gosh. So sometimes all of that makes me glad I'm 63 years old because I hopefully don't have too many more decades to endure. Dang. Our paper had a huge story recently that I hadn't connected, but 1968, what do you remember of 1968, 50 years ago? What do you
The
remember?
revolution.
Yeah, right.
The May in France.
A lot happened in 1968, a lot.
Prague as a spring.
Gosh, assassinations and life
Yeah.
with the Vietnam
Bob Kennedy,
War.
I think.
More people died in the Vietnam War, more Americans than any other year. And boy, and so much since then has happened. And this just went through 50 years, starting with all of that shocker news. So it's not really a new thing, right? There have been years before with plenty of traumatic events, and we survive. So,
But I see the American society doesn't have this capability to do those sort of revolution that they did in France. There are a small protest always. There is no, you like to say we are united, but you don't share. When things are bad, everybody thinks for their side, There is no a sense that something is wrong and everybody together, like in Spain, for instance, a lot of demonstrations because they they were indignant with the government.
yeah.
But this doesn't happen in America.
Yeah, something's happening, and I'm not sure what it's gonna brew to. It's different feeling for me, or it's as close to the feeling of 50 years ago that I can recall. Oh, that's not true. 9/11. After 9/11, there was a lot of the same sort of feeling, but didn't know where to direct it. And I think people have plenty of places to direct it now. Yeah,
In America, when there is something controversial, there's always almost half and a half. In everything.
So long now, yeah. And the headlines are all about how we can break that if the so and so retires, and yeah, the issues don't matter. It's that's the issue, is which party is going to have power. Like that's the fix it all, but that's not the fix it all at all. Yeah, we don't know what to do, I guess, because we have these systems in place that we agreed to put in place, and now we have to figure out how to find our way to a better place using them or changing them. Yeah, crazy. But a lot has happened, and a lot did happen in 1968. So this kind of chaos and chaotic feelings are not new. My parents used to say that the reason, or maybe not the reason, that what people need, what younger generations need, is to really feel a war, because we've had it too easy. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. There was so much make it better for the kids, and spoiled, and haven't had to feel the wars were over there, and few enough people, and we weren't made to feel it here. Whereas World War I, World War II, you felt it was part of the fabric of everyone's life every day, and it's not that way. Better Call Saul. Okay, I'll have to learn more about Saul. I have vague recollection, but I'm not connecting. Yeah.
But I think the problem with America, not my understanding of that, my understanding. Holly taught me how to put it mildly, so so it's not a problem. So I skip my usual those idiots and start with
laughing as I typed it, but there is truth to others being afraid to jump in who don't know you. Yeah.
So, in my understanding, it's people from other country will laugh about their problem because their problem is like like playing in playground from with my childs, and they have to exaggerate that because of long time of stability and good life and all those things. So I think it's a good injection, to live in some instability or something like that. After that, you will not care about Trump, you will not care about all those things. You will be just happy and don't need seek a doctor or something and all those things.
But Trump is the one that says that America must be better, like if America was in a bad position compared with the rest of the world, that's stupid.
Yeah, my point was, with Trump or with Obama or with someone else, the difference in American life is so small from my perspective, that we will not notice it in my place.
Yeah.
At all, at all. Because 10 years ago, my family was about what will we eat tomorrow, something like that. And now it's a different question. What will happen tomorrow? And it's another perspective for these problems.
Right. No, I appreciate that umbrella view. Yeah. Yeah. And for many people in the US, that probably is true. I don't know what percentage though. Like one of the jokes here, I mean, many, if not all, know that I had not always the nicest things to say about President Bush, but there's a joke here now is like, bring Bush back, Well, it is different for many Americans, probably not day to day, but for a good chunk of Americans, a sizable percentage, in my opinion, there is a gut difference every day. And I don't know if it's anything close to the hells that your generation and you can remember as well, and your older generations have gone through. It's apples to apples, oranges to oranges. It's not the same, but it is very real and very present. And I haven't felt it since it's different, but similar to 9/11 and the Vietnam War for me personally. The unsettled feeling of instability, of direction, of disbelief of what I see and hear around me.
Yes.
Seeing the path forward. Yeah.
I think Ivan will agree with me that America, American politicians like to make problems where there are not. Like, for instance, complaining about unemployment. America only has 5% of unemployment. That's a very low rate. And Trump is doing this war trade to protect the employment, the American employment, but it's not nonsensical, because when there is a clash, they will have also bad consequences for Americans. So they will have to pay a lot for products from outside. What's the point of that? I mean, America doesn't have a great level of unemployment. It's the opposite, I think. I don't understand that.
Yeah, there's not enough. 3 minutes left, not enough time, and
yes,
not enough facts at hand. But yes, but a lot of it is the manipulation, is what they want us to listen to and hear and worry about, so that we're not paying attention to other things.
From this side of ocean, we look on that positively. I mean, when Americans busy, it's something good for us, So I don't, I don't worry.
I really, I hope someone who's in the inner circle of the White House writes a book after he's gone. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine what it's like to try and work when you jeez. Yeah, it's interesting. Scary. The fear gets to me with the international issues and the environmental issues and the economic issues internationally when we can't just pull back when it causes real reactions. But that seems to be what the intent is. So I don't know. Maybe I'll come online one day and I'll have 0 members on 7H and everyone will just decide not to connect whenever possible with anyone from this crazy place. There are good things everywhere, and there are new elections coming up.
In Spain, we just did an impeachment.
Yeah. But then what next, right? What will the what next be better?
I hope so. At least a little bit better.
Right? Yeah.
I don't expect miracles from politicians.
Ivan can't say the same thing though. No impeachment there.
No, that's impossible. Most
Same
people
guy making history with his long-term power. Yeah. And who's to say what's better? Look at all of us, right? India has so many candidates when they have elections. There are so many. I've seen the long lists. It looks so complicated. And I don't know. I don't know. And not much time to speak about it, but that might be an interesting topic to try to understand better how the process works in different places. But for now, we escaped from too much today. Not too bad. And I hope the water issues can be resolved. There's lots of positive research being done on ways to help that too. We didn't talk about that. Some of that from someone from university.
Water issues. If water issues worries you too much, go to Russia. We don't have water issues at all. We have issues with excessive amount of water.
But we don't exactly feel welcoming arms from Russia. You don't want us all to come live there.
Why not?
It's cold. It's cold.
So interesting. I'm glad Laura got to pop in anyway. First time.
Where is she from, Laura?
California.
Mexico, I think. She's living in Florida, but I think she's from Mexico.
Okay.
Not sure without double
Rocha.
checking.
Okay, maybe yes.
So yeah. So lots of stories there too. All right, no shortage of all the different things we deal with. So, all right, have a good evening and weekend.
Thank you.
Monday maybe. Okay.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye. I want to save the chat.